Welcome back to DissedMedia, a startup story, the podcast where I take you along our journey of starting DissedMedia from the ground up. You get to hear all about our challenges and accomplishments as we either grow DissedMedia or go bust. Either way, you're going to have a front row seat to hear it all. And along the way, we're going to have some special guests who share with us their wisdom and insights and what helped them along their startup journey to success. So get ready as we get into it and try to help those get better at what they do. Welcome back, everybody, to DissedMedia, a startup story, the podcast where we take you behind the scenes of starting a business from the ground up. And this week, we have a very special guest, Matt Rouse. Matt has a fantastic background, and we're going to get into a lot related to AI, his latest book around artificial intelligence and whether AI will be taking your job. Lots of thoughts around that. Matt has been an entrepreneur, business leader, speaker, writer, has his own podcast, Digital Marketing Masters podcast, which he does on a regular basis, and also co-founder of Hook DM and Hook DM Canada. So, Matt, welcome to DissedMedia Startup Story.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, man.
Well, so we met through a gentleman by the name of Ben Albert, and Ben has been great at putting together these little networking events and speaker events, and really fascinated by your background and the things that you've done. I always like to start, though, with a little bit of kind of what has built us to where we are today.
Right. And
I would love to hear a little bit about, where did you get started down this path of what you do today? And, how is that experience kind of shaped where we are now?
Wow, this is going pretty far back at this point. You're going to have somebody with probably at least 45, 50 years on them to know what I'm talking about when we go back to the dial-up bulletin board system days.
Okay.
And that was...
Present.
Yeah, present. These were computer systems that you would call into on a phone line, and the internet was not internet yet. And you would just be going onto a server. Sometimes only one person could get on them at a time. They had games and chat boards and stuff. Email wasn't invented yet. Things go from there into I start writing software out of the back of compute magazines into my Atari 8-bit computer in BASIC. From there, over the years, things go on. I get into actually selling electronics when I was kind of late teenager, early 20s. And from there, I go into technical support for cable modems when they first came out. I was the 18th employee of the cable modem division in Western Canada for Shaw Communications. From there, we started building websites on the side. And then one day, somebody told me that they had heard that I built websites, asked me if I would talk to a business. And I said, sure. And they had one of those large format printers that they make the big vinyl prints to go on like buses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they wanted a website, and they didn't know what to do. So they gave me $50 and a case of beer. And I built them a website. That was the first commercial website I built. That was in 1997. And from there, it was IT contracting, and I always built websites. I did search on the side. I started learning about, initially it was optimization around like directory services and things, which were the predecessor to the modern search engines. And then it was SEO, and then it was advertising, and pretty soon I'm doing some work for some people. My business partner's a guy that I work with a couple times at data centers. He's got an e-commerce business. 2014, we merged those. And we're still running them to this day. So we have Hook Digital Marketing in the United States, Hook Digital Marketing Canada. We also have a SaaS product that we just built over the last year that's called SMB Autopilot. That's an AI and human-produced software for marketing local businesses. And then also I wrote, "Will AI Take My Job Too?" which is my eighth book.
Oh, that is awesome. I do teaching as well, and it's interesting when I tell my students, about the old days,
Right?
and it's interesting because I never formally got trained in databases or
I didn't either.
websites or anything like that. That a lot of people never
Right.
did. But what's funny is I say, I've been playing with computers since high school. Like I've been building computers since high school. I've had a computer in the house, whether something like Commodore 64, like way back in the day. And I said, back when RAM was measured in K.
That's right. Yeah. And it was single digits.
And you had to set like hex keys on if you wanted a sound card or
Right.
some external SCSI drive on your
Yeah.
computer.
You had like telco modems where you had to like stick the phone receiver on top of the modem.
Right?
And if it was noisy in your house, it would screw up your download. And if
Yeah.
somebody would pick up the phone to use it, it would just break your download.
The old days
That's
of
right.
kind of working with what you got. But
Yeah.
man, there I think just something about having just an idea to want to do something and cobbling it together with what you had in front of you. Still to this day, I was saying just before we got on, I've been fighting with AI all day today because I've been working on putting something together, an app together. And I mean, there are days when AI is great, it helps me
Yeah.
speed through my day, and other times when I'm just like, no, that's not what I mean. That's we
Well, you
kind of get
remember
stuck.
those computers. Like you're talking about a Commodore 64 probably had what? A couple hundred calculations per second, maybe. Like
Maybe,
that
yeah,
was pushing it. And now you're in petaflops, right?
yeah.
Like hundreds of trillions, if not thousands of trillions calculations per second. And
And I will say that I think one of the benefits of having that experience of getting to where we are today is, I have this discussion with people sometimes. AI is great, but it's not magic. There's a lot it does, and a lot it does well, but the key is in how you phrase what you're trying to get out of it to get ultimately what you want. And I think that's
well,
probably
some of it might be magic.
maybe some of it is.
I don't
Uh,
know. I'll tell you something interesting I saw the other day. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
no,
but
go right ahead.
on the magic front, right? They took an AI, generative AI model, and they trained it just on video. And this paper, I think, just came out like several days ago. And then they tried to do different tasks with the model without training it how to do any of the tasks. And it could figure out how to solve puzzles and mazes. And they never trained it how to do that. They just showed it videos.
It
And they
just
weren't
figured
even
it out.
videos about puzzles. It just knows how to do puzzles now. And I think that's kind of magical.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not in the literal magic sense, but it's magical that you can take this black box, set up the right mathematics, pump a bunch of data into it, and it's like I write poetry now.
Yeah, and it goes and it learns to do, and that is something. It's learning languages. It's learning how to improve itself through constant iteration and trial and error, which how a lot of us learn when we're go.
Right.
Can't talk about the early days. I can't tell you how
Yeah.
many times I killed a database or crashed something, um, and then didn't have a backup.
Right. Well, backups were expensive then, right? It wasn't
It was.
expensive really by cost, it was expensive by time, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to
Yeah.
back up your whole system, it'd be like 2 days.
Back, and again, boy, I'm dating myself here, but one of my early computer jobs I had was working in a server room for an oil company, and they had a VAX
Oh, yeah.
machine. And one of the things I had to do was back up run the backup routine on the vax, and it would run for hours.
Right. Like put in tape 6.
Right.
I worked at a data center 20 years ago, and we had backups of all the old information from a couple US airlines, and they were on reel to reel. So like those big wheels of tape like you see in old movies, right?
Yeah.
Like you remember the movie War Games?
Oh, absolutely.
Or Tron?
Yeah.
And they go in the computer lab is so advanced and it's just wheels and wheels of magnetic tape on giant machines, right? Like you could fit all of the stuff on all of the things in that entire building times 1,000 on probably the smallest iPod if you could still find one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we get a little forgetful about, especially, my kids and, younger generations. They just have no idea. They've just kind of lived in this world where this stuff is always there. And I remember, cloud computing starting to come out and people going, nobody's want to,
Right.
nobody's going to want to do cloud computing. Nobody's going to want a computer that doesn't have storage in it.
Right. They're like, I want to store it on my hard drive on my own computer, which I still do, but it's not an option a lot of times now.
Yeah, so much has changed, and at the same time, there's still some things that are a little challenging, but the world is certainly getting better. One of the things I wanted to talk about in relationship to your book, because there's so many arguments either way, and for people who aren't very techie, AI is the scourge right now, right. Especially if you're a writer, if you're somebody who feels maybe a little threatened by some of its capabilities. People aren't necessarily embracing it full forward. But then you've also got people, you've got a background in technology and you've been working with it for years. You've been doing, working with technology all of my career, really.
Right.
And I love it. Like, what else can we do with this thing? Like, let's push it to its limits. And so, that question though about will AI take my job? And you're of the opinion that not really anytime soon, or maybe some things it's going to change, but it's not necessarily going to, eradicate every job.
I don't know if you've seen that meme where like the water's coming out of the tank and the sales guy has the like sticker and he slaps it on the tank and it says, "It depends." And the answer,
Right.
Basically, it's like the fix all. Well, the thing with AI and jobs is that it depends, right? And it depends on a lot of things, and it also depends on some things that are completely out of our control, which is even more unfortunate because that's more unsettling, right? But I think if your job is to chat or talk or email with people through the computer, and then you collect a bunch of data, whether that's people asking you questions or reports or whatever it is, you do some sort of analysis or lookups of other data, and then you format that and send that back out to someone else, AI is really good at that. So that could be customer support, technical support, usually chat-based. Could be phone support because you've got AI voice systems that are fast enough now to talk to people. Could be data analysis, data entry for sure, basic computer use. All of these things sort of are almost like the low-hanging fruit of, AI, just because it's good at those tasks. They weren't really designed to replace those people. They were designed to do what they're good at. They just happen to be good at those things, right?
Yeah, it's. I would say, and I know I'm going to probably insult some people, and I don't mean to, but
don't worry, I get blocked every day. I am both an author and an AI person, so I basically like everybody in my own industry hates me. So,
well, I would say it's low-level knowledge worker work. Just things that have to go from point A to point B, and we've just found a faster conduit to do that.
There's a lot of jobs where I would say half or more of people's tasks are making small decisions about data and figuring out who the right person to send that result to is.
Right. Yeah.
And that is 100% replaceable with an AI system. You could do that now, right? But it doesn't mean it's going to be implemented now, right? So implementation is one of the barriers to the replacement of jobs. But also, there has to be someone whose job is to deal with the problems that come up that are like edge cases, stuff the system's not trained on, something no one's seen before, or also to be the person who's in charge of that system and is basically like liable for how that system works. Somebody's got to be to blame if the thing goes wrong, right? And so there are positions still in those kinds of jobs that are going to still exist. The problem is you're going to probably see 90% layoffs in some of those industries.
Well, I think what is interesting about this is that, yes, we're going to have some layoffs. I think, though, that what AI does is it frees up time so we can reinvest that time into other things that we may, yes, also use AI to help us build and create, but it allows us to do more and be more creative. I think that because we don't fully understand the jobs that are going to be created with this new system, this new application,
Right.
we're looking at the world like Thomas Edison just invented the light bulb, and we're a candle maker, and we're all scared that all the candle makers are going to go away. A big portion of them, yes, but having the ability to have light and in light, just in so many places, and the expansion of that is going to enable so many other things.
Right.
That at the time, I'm sure we couldn't have imagined what those things were as it was rolling out.
And then the light bulb manufacturer was replaced by the LED manufacturer.
Yeah,
It's brighter
absolutely.
light, lower voltage, more options. Could be put in plastic instead of glass. There's all kinds of reasons why you would use an LED, right?
Last longer.
Last longer. I don't remember the last time I changed a light bulb in my house, right? So as technology moves along, there's always these positions that we didn't know, right? Like if you ask somebody in 1984 what a web developer was, they'd think you were crazy because the web hadn't been invented yet. Nobody knew there was going to be billions of websites, right?
I mean, you asked somebody in 2004 what a social media marketing manager would be.
That's right. Or an iPhone repair. Like, things just get invented. However, the biggest difference here is that none of those technologies, with the exception of some algorithmic programming, none of those technologies could, quote, think, right? And the difference is that the thing that could not be replaced in automation was decision making through all of history, right? Somebody had to make a decision. There was some kind of algorithmic stuff like, okay, well, I can make a factory that could look at something to select if it's a defect or not, switch it to a different path, or, there's some other software that can, wrangle your data and make some decisions and present some kind of output. But there hasn't been something that could create a plan, think through the plan, and process and act on that plan. And that's where the difference is. And, I do want to clarify, like if I say chat support representatives are going to get 90% layoffs, that's not 90% of every person on the planet getting laid off, right? Like the medical system will probably have no layoffs. Like the perfect example is the latest study on people who are radiologists. They said AI can read the scan. It does a better job than radiologists already. This is 2 years ago. So all the radiologists are going to get laid off in a couple of years, right? That's the godfather of AI from DeepMind. Is like all the radiologists are going to be gone by 2026. And turns out there's number one, more radiologists than ever. And number two, they get paid more than they did before because they're more productive. So you actually end up with, it's called Jevons Paradox, I believe is the name of it. It's the cheaper and easier to use something that becomes the more people use it, which then makes it again cheaper, right? So the adoption of the steam engine came because once people started using the steam engine all the time, it became cheaper to make more railroad tracks and make more steam engines. And so more people started taking them, and then yada, 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 and off we go, right? So the more AI gets used, the cheaper it becomes. And the more cheaper it becomes, the more people use it.
I think the more we implement it in the work that we're doing, I think for business owners and a perfect example, I was speaking with somebody recently who does a lot of forecasting and planning. Mm-hmm. And, for many companies, this is a dedicated, job, a dedicated person. And really what it is, it's running a bunch of math models, right? And so now we have this great mathematician in AI that can build these models, pretty efficiently. And what it does is it reduces the need to hire a person dedicated to that thing. But what it also does then is open up the ability to think about more complex planning models than you maybe had in the past, because you were limited by not just the complexity of the model, but also you couldn't layer in all of the big data maybe that you wanted to, because you were limited in scope. You didn't really have the tools. And now you've got this huge, powerful thing. Yeah, and time, right? And so now you can be even more creative and build something even more sophisticated. And, and at the end of the day, you may need somebody to, become the operator of that. Like, I have an idea of something I want to do. I don't have the time to do it. I need somebody who's really good at AI to come in here and, collaborate on this thing and build it. Is it 10 more jobs? No. But from the 9 other people who aren't working comes probably at least 2 or 3 new companies we never even thought of, because these people are going to be more imaginative and they're going to go address some industry problem that's been lingering that everybody has identified, but nobody has had the time to fix.
The biggest problem that people have with trying to see how safe they are from AI or where AI is going is that they have a linear brain and they're trying to look at a hyper exponential problem. So hyper exponential is, exponential, exponent on an exponent, right? So in some industries, AI is not just doubling, it is quadrupling at a rate every 7 months. It's like Moore's law was 18 months of doubling. The AI, the law of AI right now, they don't have nobody agrees on the name of it, but it's roughly 7 months that the abilities of AI double. If you think of something like embedded robotics, where you've got robotics doubling and AI doubling, then you get the hyper exponent, right? That's why you have dancing bipedal robots now, and 2 years ago you didn't, because they're advancing so quickly. The other thing is, if you talk to somebody and they're like, well, I tried some AI and I used it. Maybe that was 3 months ago, right? That was an entire generation of AI ago, even if it was just 3 months ago, right? If they used it last year, they're probably 2, maybe even 3 generations behind. They're not like 3 times behind, right? They're 8 times behind, because it's 2 times 2 times 2, right?
Right. Well, and something else in there too. So my primary go-to is ChatGPT. Right. Most popular, most, I think, dynamic. But there are so many other specialized tools that are trained on doing specific things. As you mentioned earlier, something just trained on video. And you're deep into this on a regular basis. What are some of those other tools beyond ChatGPT that are really interesting to you? What are some of the ones that you've seen that are really spark your interest?
Well, I like to see, a lot of people like to call it your daily driver. That's your Chat GPT that you're using all the time. That's your daily driver AI, right? But there's other AIs, even general purpose AIs. If you are a programmer, you're probably using Claude Sonnet for your programming, with Codex or whatever it is that you're using, VS Code or something. And then, or Claude Code, right? To help you write software, but probably using GPT for other problems, like research problems and things like that. So it's not just that one foundational model is enough. I mean, for the average person, it's probably great. Just use ChatGPT. It's fine, right? I like it. But different AI systems are tuned differently, meaning they are good at different things. So, like I said, Claude Sonnet's a better programmer than GPT-5. GPT-5, though, can solve a lot of programming problems that Sonnet can't. So, it kind of can go back and forth. I like to switch models, right? Put the problem into one. If I can't solve it, I stick it in the other one. But if we're talking about stuff that's not just like, chatbots and stuff, I think one of the things that's really interesting is matching a chatbot with an automation system. And you can now do that in ChatGPT because you can use ChatGPT or OpenAI agent. And the agent builder has a drag and drop interface now where you can build your own chatbots with your own data and your own access to APIs, as well as something called MCP, which is Model Control Protocol, which is access to other kinds of software and other kinds of tasks, which probably don't have time to get into right now. But an example of using MCP would be that I have a piece of software that I say, I want you to make a video of a middle-aged man sitting in an Adirondack chair singing a country song. And it will generate the script, generate the video, generate the song, put those pieces together and lip sync the voice to the video. All without any intervention by me.
As you say that, I think about the number of times. So I have done some small business consulting. I've worked with people who, develop different products and things. And I remember a while back working with a company, and they needed an explainer video for their product.
Right.
And it was this task that stayed, rolling around for weeks, months, really, because you got to find the time to break away to go do that, and bring in a camera person and bring it, you got to do the whole thing. And now you can literally just, create that in probably not even a full afternoon.
Right. And for like a couple $100.
Yeah.
Right. And even though some of the video models are expensive, we put that in quote, expensive. They used to cost $5,000 to $10,000 to shoot a 30-second spot.
Easy.
Now a 30-second spot, you can generate it for $100 or less. Right.
Yeah.
And it may not be as good of quality, but it's going to be close. And if it's close now, it's going to be really close, middle of next year. And it's going to be as good by 2027.
But keep in mind too, I mean, when we talk about as good, I'm so glad I'm speaking with someone who can connect with this.
Right. I mean, from a quality standpoint, like quality, video quality, not like creative quality.
Yes. But what I was going to say is, back in the day, stereos and hi-fi were a thing. And, people would invest a significant amount of money in that. Yeah. And, the first thing you would usually do if you bought a car back in the day is you ripped out the stereo and put in your own sound system, right? And nobody really, some people are still doing that, not nearly in the volume that it was previously. Most people now are happy looking at a screen that isn't even, is not even a big screen, just their phone, listening to audio through their earbuds, which,
Right.
Doesn't have all of the hi-fi nuances that some streaming audio, right? So when we talk about good enough, most people aren't going to notice. And the people who do um, are probably not going to be your target audience anyway. Like if you're just
Yeah, it
looking
really
to get
depends
something
on
out,
the market.
true, yes, absolutely. But if you're looking to get something out for your general customers to get a look and feel an idea of what your product is,
Right.
like these tools, good enough, good enough
Yeah.
to so that you can move on to the next
And
thing.
you don't, just because you're going to use some AI doesn't mean you have to make 100% AI video, right?
Right.
Like we've been doing this for years now, like a couple of years already and longer with images, but with video, probably one of the best performing spots we have is chairs around a campfire and the campfire's burning and we have a voiceover to it with some background music. And originally it was a photo and we used Runway ML to animate the fire. So we animated the fire and we pan across it with the video editing software and it looks like somebody shot a video of chairs around the fire, and we used stock music and we used an AI voice for the voiceover. And we did that at probably early 2024, maybe end of 2023. And I think it would have been early 2024. We're still running that ad today on social media, and not a single person has questioned it, ever. We've never had a comment, that fire's AI. Are you trying to trick us with fake fire? Like it just doesn't happen. So it really depends how it's used, right? If it's used creatively in a way that's not in your face kind of thing, unless that's what you're going for, like I've seen ads like, I'm a fake person, and if you want to use AI like me, like that kind of ad. But
Right. Yeah, I was at a conference recently where there was a creator. It was a bunch of YouTube creators. Actually, that's where I met Ben. But one of the presenters had talked about how they're doing AI videos of themselves, right? And doing short AI
right,
videos with it. And they always mention to their followers like this is an AI video, so people aren't buying too much into it. But more and more, that is going to emerge as a thing. And just recently, the actor, gosh, I'm trying to remember her name. It was an AI generated
right.
actor. Everybody was, all up in arms about it because it's this fake person and it's not a real personality. Music, bands, and all of that. Everything's kind of getting into this weird space of I want to hate it, but wow, that's kind of intriguing, interesting, a
Well,
little bit
how
cool.
long has music been electronic, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah,
everybody edits on a computer.
yep,
You used to have like effect pedals, and you'd be setting up drums and microphones and miking all your drums and everything, and putting your stuff through preamps, right? If you're a guitar player or bass player, right? And same with your microphone and stuff. But now it's all just recorded on somebody's got a laptop in their room, right? And they're programming in the music, and then they turn around and they go, I can't stand that fake electronic AI music. Everything you've got is computerized already. So I don't know what people were expecting on that side of it. But I think it's different if, you're an artist and you spend your whole life coming up with a specific style and AI can now mimic that style. I mean, that's a problem, right? But
yeah, yeah.
the same with writing, right? Like derivative works and things like that are supposed to be protected under copyright. But I don't think that training an AI model on books is copyright, because that's not that's a misunderstanding of how AI works. When you're training a model, all you're trying to do is make mathematical correlations between words and phrases and stuff like that. Post training is where you give it knowledge. So if you train it on your book, then it can't regurgitate the book, right? That's just not how it works. And actually about that, and this you might find this interesting, but in my book on the copyright page, right, into here, you can't read it on here obviously, but it says permission is granted for this book to be used in the training and development of artificial intelligence models and systems. I explicitly say, put my book in your AI. Because,
that from a marketing standpoint, that's pretty smart though, because
well, imagine if you weren't on Google at this point, like, and you're a business or a consultant or something. Like, that's a tough slog, right? If you're not Googleable. I don't even know if that's a word, Googleable.
Well, large language model text files for your website are now a thing.
Right.
So just as you would put your site directory and make it easy for the crawlers to find you, now we're making it easier for the large language models to find us. And so just having something like that in your book, as we, Matt, I think you had mentioned this. I can't remember if it was in your talk or in one of the meetups that we had, about how there's a deadline to the training of these of like Chat GPT, for example, and that everything past that date it's got to learn until the next iteration comes out, and then it'll get refreshed with everything that's been kind of released between one point and the next.
So there's been an update, and that's no longer the case. So they can actually post-train as they go. So they can update the model on an ongoing basis. And that eventually, like, a lot of it is putting news files and information like that and current events and stuff into the model using some sort of post-training. I don't know the ins and outs of how it's done. But eventually it's going to be a continuously trained model. So that, like Gemini or something will know everything on Google and everything on Google News all the time as it gets discovered.
Which I think is only gonna help us, as we move forward. But to your point about writing, something I've mentioned this a couple times. Students, I've been teaching for 20 years now, and I have that amount of time to really understand what a student paper typically looks like versus what it looks like now in the last 2 years. Everybody has become a much better writer. But the problem is that they're not really using Chat GPT or whatever, DeepSeek, whatever they're using, very well. They still haven't broken out of, how to edit with the output that they're getting and how to turn that into their own work. And that's one of the things for instructors. And by the way, I even see it in business communications. People who are sending me emails, I get, for this podcast, I get bookers who reach out to me. And, I look at some of the correspondence sometimes and I'm just like, okay. Yeah, I mean, it was AI generated. I can tell, you can tell, like, but it's fine. Like, they connect me with some good guests, so I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, we got to get better at using this thing because it is just taking the I don't know. It's taking the unique. It's kind of creating just a very bland vanilla approach to correspondence and writing, and it's not exciting for me.
There's definitely, the problem where it's not being used as an assistant or as a partner, right, to help you do your studies. It's I upload my assignment in and it spits out the answer and I say that's my work, right? Yeah. In some cases, right? And a lot of cases, actually. But remember that at this point, and I mean, a lot of people find this shocking when I tell them, but I don't think it's that shocking if you do the math, right? Every undergraduate student at a college or university now has always had access to AI.
Yep.
Ever since they were in college or university, right? It's just like in my book, I talk about my daughter. She's 9 years old. Since she can remember, every electronic device that she has or that she interacts with that we have can understand what she says and will do things when she tells it to do. Alexa, her tablet, our phones, everything.
That realization is, something I've had discussions with faculty about this, because there are some who are very, I don't want to call them Luddites, but,
Right.
kind of are. Uh, I get that it's making you work a little bit more, a little bit harder. You got to be more creative in the classroom,
Right.
like simple writing assignments. I have gotten to the point now in next semester, I'm reiterating my rubric to grade you based on how well you formulate your answer with AI, because how can I sit there and like I used to grade on grammar.
Right.
Okay, well, you're not writing it yourself anymore,
Yeah.
so I can't
And
really
before that,
grade
they
you
use
on.
a word anyway, right? Or Grammarly.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but even though those tools were out there, it's still surprising the number of people who never used them.
Well, I
Uh,
can tell you when I was going to SAIT in Alberta, Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, they had this thing that you weren't allowed to use the spell checker on the software, right? People were like putting in extra spaces or like an extra comment like to throw in so it looked like they didn't use the grammar checker or the spell checker, right? And meanwhile, me and the guy who's next to me, who came from computer science at U of C, were like breaking into the network at the school, and they're telling us we can't use a spell checker, right? Like there's just this gap of knowledge that's so far. And I think and I cover this in the book as well, in the education chapter, is that there has to be a policy, and the policy has to be clear for the faculty and for the students and for anyone connected to the school that's like a vendor, an employee, or anything, right? Because you can't have some student come in, hand in their work to a professor, and the professor says this is cheating because you used AI, and there's no policy. Because that means you can't punish them. And if you do punish them, they're going to sue you, right?
yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing that makes it challenging too is that proof, evidence.
Right.
You can suspect AI. It's not necessary. There are really no good tools to tell. I don't know. Maybe there are.
They can give you a percentage, like we think, we're this sure kind of thing.
Yeah, but at the same time, now I have seen.
But the false positive rate is very high, and the false positive rate on AI checkers almost always negatively impacts people with English as a second language.
Right.
Or
right.
people with a learning disability.
And yeah, so I will say, and I do teach students, a fair number of students who are international students, and this is a tool that has been very beneficial for them, in helping them become a better writer. And what I find myself evaluating, which we should have anyway, I think it's interesting in academia. A lot of times you get feedback on your APA, citation formatting, or your layout of your paper, things like that. We're back to the content, which quite honestly is where we should be focusing our attention. Is how well is this idea developed,
right?
Rather than how well was the paper written.
Yeah, and another trick, and I've seen a couple of these tricks used. An interesting one is you make your students write a paper about a topic that the AI won't put content out on, right? Like the history of
that could get dangerous.
The history of generating anthrax, or like how to make chemical weapons at home. Like I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying like there's certain topics that the AI will refuse, right?
Yeah, this is true.
And so, like if you talk about like write a paper about, something that has some sort of emotional depth to it, and make them throw in something about like, some abstract thought or theory, That can help. There's lots of ways around that sort of writing assignment. But I think what you're trying to do more, right, is if the goal is to teach people how to get their thoughts out and communicate, then giving them a topic that an AI won't reproduce is a way to do that. That's what I'm saying.
Well, the other thing too. Well, first of all, on that point, I don't know that I would want to help somebody generate some really suspect search engine
Right.
history.
Go out and look up how to 3D print a gun.
But aside from that, one of the things that I have found in my review of AI written work, and by the way, AI written dissertations, the fact is that AI makes things up at times,
Yeah.
and the references are not always legit, and some of them are to papers that were never written and don't even exist. And so to go through papers now, like, I am so much more critical. I have gotten to the point where I will ask a student, like, what did you mean when you wrote this?
Right.
And they can't explain it.
Well, the other thing with like citations and stuff, the hallucination rate, each time a new model comes out, it goes down substantially.
Yeah,
So,
it is getting better.
I mean, it's better to the point that for stuff that there's nothing in the model for it to kind of generate because it doesn't have the knowledge. And that's usually what hallucination is. It's got an idea where it's saying, okay, you want me to make something that has all of these references, except in my memory, one of these references doesn't exist. So I will generate a reference for you to serve you better, right? I'm helping you by making this fake reference for you, right? And so there's some papers and stuff that came out recently around that as well, where they've seemed to have found some ways to kind of solve some of that. But the error rate is I think it's dropped something like 50 or 60% just in the last 7-8 months. And if that continues at the current rate, it'll be negligible, 2 years from now.
Something that I do, because with the Daily Pitch, our publication, I do a lot of articles on topics where I'm always looking for kind of the latest research, or because the crazy thing is when it comes to writing research papers, I think the disappointing statistic is something like the average paper is read by 5 people.
Right.
And so there's a lot of research out there. A lot of things have been written, but it hasn't really been publicized a lot. So I use ChatGPT a lot to dig into topics that I'm writing about, and I'll ask for references and resources. And something that I get often is it will give me a paper, title's right, publication was right, authors are wrong.
Right.
It'll say it was written by 3 people. It was actually written by 1. And, but the subject is the same. The content of what it said it's covering is correct, right, but it's still getting just these little things wrong. And you got to check everything it gives you.
And the other thing is, if you're just using one model to do that versus using, there's a program I really like to use. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. It's out of Australia. It's called Sim Theory. And I showed it in my demo. Sim Theory has a search for academic papers that uses an academic paper search engine. And it's one of the MCPs that you could connect to your chatbot. And so you can say, I want you to search Google. I want you to use a thinking model to do research. I want you to search these academic paper only search engine. And then I want to use another AI system to compile all those results, and then another one to check it and double check if all of it's true. And then what you get out the other end is, I'm not saying it's 100%, but it's going to be a lot better than just typing it into ChatGPT.
Yeah. Well, and this is what I love about these tools. Not only are they getting better, but as we kind of talked about earlier, there are specialists, right? So it's kind of like going to the doctor. You got your general practitioner, and then you've got the specialist, and that's where it gets really kind of fun sometimes.
Yeah, there's tools out there that I find pretty mind blowing already. You talked about AI music earlier, like version 5 of Suno just came out last week. And it has a studio section in it now, so you can edit sections of your music. You can split out the voices and the instruments and edit each one, independently. And you can also do stuff where, like, a lot of people say there's no creativity in AI music, but if you go into studio, you could turn it on and say, okay, play the beat back, and it's like, and you go, da 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 da, and then it'll play that with the instrument you selected.
That's so crazy.
And then you could mix that into your song. And you can even record your own instrument and put that into the mix. So now you can partner with the AI. And that's honestly, and not to bring it around to, like sell books or something, but my book, the idea is you have to partner with AI as if it's kind of your really smart coffee friend or your buddy, your assistant who knows a lot of stuff, but needs a lot of help, right? And it doesn't matter what tool it is.
It can be a great collaborator.
Right.
And something to help you formulate ideas. And on the music front, I mean, something I've gotten into watching on YouTube are these AI remixes. Like they might take a song from Nirvana and make it like an R&B version of it. And, I'm like, I hate that I like this.
I saw Funky Death the other day. It was a funky version of Megadeth.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
It's it's fun. It really is. Well, Matt, I wanted to, about your book. For those who are interested, what is a good takeaway that you feel like people need to, kind of dig into on this?
I think the best thing is to understand what's coming down the pipe in your industry and to kind of have a good idea if maybe there's a blind spot, there's something that you haven't thought of or something you haven't seen yet that's coming, and be able to position yourself or pivot if you have to, whether that's for your business or for your job or your organization, so that another company, person, or organization doesn't come along and put you out of business. And I think that's really what the goal is here. It's, can we make short-term predictions so that we can protect ourselves from what may be coming that could have a serious negative impact on a lot of industries, but also could have a very positive impact on a lot of industries. And you want to be on the positive impact side, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're a small business, I think one of the great things is, and every year we're coming out with better tools that enable you to have a big presence, and still be small in scale. Mm-hmm. And more and more tools are like that. With the other work that you do outside of your book, mm-hmm. how are you leveraging some of this stuff to make you guys better at what you do?
So the reason I wrote Will AI Take My Job the first time is because I looked at all the AI stuff coming down the pipe, and we looked at our business, and I said, at the rate this is going, in like 3 to 5 years, we'll be out of business. So I need to change my business now. And we changed how we do our business. We changed how we produce things, what kind of marketing and other content that we create for our customers is. And then we also started building our SMB autopilot program because AI is really not good at local marketing. So we found that there was a niche there where we had experience, because way back, actually I had to dig through a pile of books here. I wrote Crush SEO, How to Market Your Local Business Online. And don't buy this book because it's way out of date.
And it only came out when?
10 years ago.
Okay, well.
But in 10 years, you can still get the same information that was in my book 10 years ago. And the AI is going to be like, this is how you market your local business in 2025. So we found that that's a problem. So we're solving that problem.
You
I think
know,
that's what it is, right? How do you solve a problem the AI is not good at?
I was just going to say, three industries I'll say that I'm in, right? Media, which is doing this podcast, having my website, and doing publications there. I teach, and I'm a data analyst as my primary thing.
Right.
All three of those jobs you can look at it two ways. You either say AI is going to kill my job, or AI is going to enhance my job and allow me to do more stuff or do more stuff differently.
Right. It depends which person you are in that job. If you are a high-end data analyst, you will be able to do more with less in less time.
Yeah.
If you are
Yeah.
getting into data analysis, you're probably never going to find a job.
This is true. And what I would say is that it's enabling me to do, because the company that I work for, very small workforce, I'm the only person who does what I do in the company. What I'm now able to do is more, faster, and check things off my list so that I can get to some of those things that just keep rolling around on the to-do list, which has been great. And doing some things that I hadn't really had time to get to before, but now I'm able to start, construct. It's more than an idea now and me saying, hey, we could do this if we had the time.
Right.
Now I'm getting the time to be able to do some of those things. So from that standpoint, it's amazing. But teaching, man, this is the area where I keep thinking I think teaching as a product, education as a product, is going to go through the biggest revolution in the next 5 years, and it's going to piss off a lot of people who are traditional academic people. They're going to fight it. They are going to, claim it's not good enough. But boy, just things like Notebook LM, taking an entire lesson and turning it into a podcast, and people being able to learn from that, being able to engage with things like Notebook LM and ask it questions and
Right.
and have AI find an answer for you. Teachers need to step it up. Like, these legacy ways of doing things are just different, and I think that we're going to move. I'm going to make a prediction here that we're going to move away from diplomas and more towards targeted certificates that are less expensive, that give you better information and content, and just speed your ability to get into the workforce.
I think that may or may not be true. It's really hard to say what's going to happen of the diploma versus task kind of thing. But I do think that if educational institutions don't start shifting a bit away from the academic and knowledge side and more towards the experiential kind of side, and training people like how to learn and how to be curious and how to be scientists versus, cramming as much knowledge into somebody as we can kind of thing. Not that I'm saying they all do that.
Right.
But I think the experience and the meeting other people and the human kind of connection kind of thing of education is where the value is going to be.
Well, you think about it. You spend 16 weeks learning one thing, and for more traditional institutions, you just got to hope that the class isn't full by the time you get to registering. Otherwise, you've got to go figure out a different plan.
Yeah, which is awesome.
You've got an entire product that is built on banker's hours, and that's just not the way the world works anymore.
Yeah, and also you have to take a bunch of stuff you didn't really want to take in the first place.
Right.
Which may or may not be beneficial to you, but I think that that is not communicated well.
Now, I will say this though, and I'm always like for and against things. So the one thing I would say when it comes to taking things that you didn't want to is that it does, the whole point of university is to expand your knowledge and your experience with
broaden
things.
your horizons a bit.
Yeah, and so I'm glad I hate Faulkner, but I'm glad I had to read him.
Right. Well, and with the filter bubble world that we live in now, which is just going to get worse, then there needs to be some way to, break people out of the shell that they're kind of placing themselves in through media, right?
Right.
And you're gonna get AI systems that are designed for specific, let's say, verticals of society. And they're going to be designed so that just like social media, or when you go to a search engine or YouTube, it shows you stuff personally for you, there's going to be an AI designed personally for you as well. And, if you have a certain political leaning or a certain ideology or a certain religion or whatever that is, that organization is going to make an AI that's for that thing, and that's the one you're going to use. So it's going to make you even more entrenched in whatever your kind of tribe is.
Yeah, that's true, and I think we got to figure out a way to to break out of that a little bit.
That's right. AI will figure it out. That's what everybody hates. Is they're like, everybody hates it if they hate AI. The one thing they hate even more is someone saying that AI is going to solve whatever the problem is.
Man, yeah. To me, this is just you could literally do a weekly segment on that. Well, I will say, like there are people I follow on TikTok and on YouTube that I try to keep up with this stuff as best as I can. It's moving so fast. It's changing so quickly, and there's news about this stuff every day. As a matter of fact, Matt, where if you had to give people advice on like a place where you can keep a pulse on what's changing out there, where's your favorite place to go to?
I like the Neuron newsletter. I like This Day in AI. It's a good podcast. It might be a bit technical. The AI podcast used to be called the Marketing AI podcast because it's by the Marketing AI Institute. It's a good one. There's also Future Tools. Has thousands of AI tools on it listed, as well as Matt Wolf's YouTube channel is really good. The Dwarkesh podcast is excellent. And there's a few others. It really kind of depends on your industry. Find an industry-specific podcast, and they will probably have AI information that's industry-specific. And, what you're saying is absolutely true. Even if you are a scientist and you solely work on AI and you spend every day trying to keep up with AI, more is being added to the field than you could possibly know. So,
yeah.
As like what we know out of a corpus of all AI knowledge, let alone all scientific knowledge, we are actually know less and less as time goes on. So it really gets difficult to try and keep up. Don't think I'm going to keep up with everything. You really got to like pick your lane when it comes to this stuff because there's just too much to know.
Yeah. There's a gentleman I started following him on TikTok. I think his name's Nate Jones. But he has a Substack, and like every single day he's putting stuff out about all these models, and it's just so fascinating. I mean, there is just always something new and iterative coming out about this. It's, to me, we live in some very exciting times,
Yeah.
and I think as a business owner, small business company, people who are looking to do more with less, we've got some fantastic tools that are really enabling business to do more these days. Matt, where do people find you if they want to reach out, get in touch, or even find your book?
Right. My book's available at Amazon. It's Will AI Take My Job Too? And it's in print. It's in audiobook read by an AI, which I thought would be, fitting for an AI book. And also, I have MatthewRouse.com. It's MatthewRouse.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn pretty much all the time. I know a lot of people hate LinkedIn, but I go on there and post like pictures of chickens. So it's kind of fun. If you like AI and you like chickens, then follow me on LinkedIn.
I love it. It's the using the business platform to keep
Right.
keep
I got
everybody
a chicken
updated.
right here, and I got a chicken on my shirt.
That's awesome. No, I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn is for my content and the things that we do. Like LinkedIn is
Yeah.
my audience. So
If you find the right people, LinkedIn's a lot of fun. If you're just like following a bunch of people looking for jobs, is really boring.
No, yeah, I enjoy the content makers, and there's a lot of really good thought leaders and a lot of good content there. So, as a matter of fact, I just started putting our newsletter on LinkedIn, so you can subscribe on the website, but very quickly we got some good traction on LinkedIn.
Nice.
There's
a good
great
AI feed on Blue Sky as well. If you're a Blue
you know
Sky
what.
person.
I signed up for Blue Sky a long time ago. Have not been back in.
I use it every day. It's great.
Yeah, I should probably make it a little bit more of a habit.
You gotta customize it. You gotta tell it who you want to follow, and you can customize your feeds. Because if you just like leave it to its own devices, it's just gonna give you like U.S. politics all day. So.
Yeah, no, that's there's so much of that. Yeah, I purposely make it a point to not do politics.
Yeah, go do some searches for things you like, and the algorithm will be like, "Hey, it says here you like miniature dragons. We're gonna go and look those things up. There's some videos about dragons."
Well, I'll have to do that and maybe get it to find me some good AI resources.
There you go.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time. I tell you, I enjoyed your talk when you did your presentation on your book. I know you do public speaking as well, so hopefully, if anybody's hearing this, definitely seek Matt out. Great information, and I just love your background. You got a lot of really good. It's nice to connect with someone who remembers the old days of bulletin boards.
All the old things. Here's one more quick one for you. Is I collect old Dungeons and Dragons stuff. It's like my hobby.
Nice.
I have the original Intellivision Dungeons and Dragons game.
No way.
That's going way back.
That is, I remember when I was a kid, there was a friend of mine who had the little voice box for the Intellivision, and I remember going to his house and playing B-52 Bomber, and thought it was a magic. That
it sounds like somebody with one of those things for their neck because they like smoke too much or whatever. They're like, drop the bomb.
That was the things we were entertained by back in the day.
That's right. All right, Ben, I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Well, thank you, and everybody else. Thank you guys for checking out DissedMedia, A Startup Story, and we will be back next week. Another exciting episode. Until then, catch you later. Thanks for listening to DissedMedia, A Startup Story. This podcast was produced and edited by Ben Olmos and is a production of DissedMedia Corporation. If you're interested in learning more about anything you heard on this episode, please reach out to us at podcast@dissedmedia.com. You can also get more information about this and other episodes or information about our guests by checking out dailypitch.news, our business and insights publication focused on helping managers, leaders, and entrepreneurs get better at what they do.